Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful, raw, and honest prayers ever written for a second chance, Psalm 51. And we're not just going to read it, we're going to break it down, verse by verse, and turn it into a visual story. A journey so clear it'll be impossible to forget. It all really starts with a question that, let's be honest, we've all felt in some way. How do you even find the words to ask for forgiveness when you feel like you've completely, totally broken everything? This psalm, well, it's an answer to that exact feeling. So here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through this prayer in 4 acts. See, this isn't just a random list of verses. It's a story with a structure, a journey that takes us from rock bottom all the way to finding a new purpose. And our story begins at the absolute lowest point. Act 1 is all about a desperate, raw cry for help. This is the sound of someone who knows they're in deep trouble and they've got nowhere else to go. Right away, this isn't about asking for what's fair or just. It's a plea for unearned grace, for loving kindness. To lock this visual in your mind, just imagine a single hand reaching up out of complete and total darkness, stretching desperately towards one single warm point of light. It's a cry to just wipe the slate clean. Then in verse 2, the prayer gets even more intense. It's not just about erasing the mistake on the outside, it's about a deep internal cleaning. The image here, picture someone covered from head to toe in thick, caked-on mud, and they're standing under this powerful, cleansing waterfall that just washes it all away. That's the feeling, a total purification. Okay, so after that initial plea for help, the prayer takes a really sharp turn. This is Act 2. It's where all the excuses stop. This is about taking 100% ownership and being brutally, painfully honest about what went wrong. Verse 3. This is that moment of just facing the cold, hard truth. That line, "My sin is always before me," is so powerful. To picture it, imagine a person being forced to look into a mirror, but instead of their own reflection, the mirror is playing their biggest mistake on a constant, inescapable loop. There's just no looking away. Verse 4. This is the ultimate act of accountability. It's taking the problem to the highest possible authority. The scene for this is a person standing completely alone in a vast, empty courtroom. No judge, no jury, no lawyer. They just stand there and point at themselves, admitting, "I'm the one. I'm guilty." Now, verse 5 goes even deeper. And this isn't an excuse, it's an acknowledgement of a flawed human nature from the very beginning. The visual for this is really simple but powerful. It's a tiny, cracked seed being planted in soil. It recognizes this inherent brokenness right from the start. And right after admitting that flawed nature, verse 6 pivots to what's truly wanted, truth on the inside. So think of a geode, one of those rough, ordinary-looking rocks on the outside, but when you crack it open, the core is filled with sparkling, pure crystals. That's the whole idea here, integrity deep inside, where it counts. So after that brutal, honest confession, the whole tone of the prayer shifts. It starts to sound hopeful. This is Act 3. The prayer for a complete internal transformation, for a total rebuild from the inside out. Verse 7 is just this plea for a radical purification. The image to remember here is a dark, grimy, heavily stained cloth being dipped into a basin of pure water. But when it's pulled out, it's not just clean, it's glowing. It's impossibly white, whiter than snow. Verse 8 really captures that feeling of being emotionally and spiritually shattered. I mean, that line about broken bones is so visceral. Imagine seeing an X-ray of a fractured bone, and as you watch, it just magically mends itself. And then it starts to vibrate with this joyful, visible hum. It's a healing you can literally see and feel. And in verse 9, we have another plea to just wipe the record clean. Think of a page in an old book, completely filled with messy, dark, angry scribbles. And then, a single beam of light moves across the page, and like a perfect eraser, it just removes every single mark, leaving the page totally blank and clean. All right, now verses 10 through 12, these are the absolute core of this whole renewal process. Think of it like this. Step 1 from verse 10 is asking for a brand new emotional center. Create in me a clean heart. It's about a fresh start right from the very core. Step 2 from verse 11 is a plea not to be abandoned, to get that connection back and renew a steadfast spirit. And finally, step 3 in verse 12 is about getting the happiness back. Restore to me the joy. It's such a clear progression, isn't it? A new heart, a stable spirit, and then the return of joy.
And all of that leads us right into our final act. This is the big turn. The prayer stops being just about personal forgiveness. It starts to look outward, vowing to use this incredibly painful experience to actually help other people.
Verse 13 is the great if-then promise. If I get through this, if I'm restored, then I'm going to help other people find the same path. So picture this, a person who was once completely lost in a confusing, terrifying maze. But now, they're standing on a platform high above it, and they're calmly and compassionately guiding others toward the exit. Verse 14 is a plea to be freed from the absolute heaviest consequences. It even says the guilt of bloodshed, and the promise in return, loud public praise. The visual here has to be intense. Imagine heavy, rusted chains binding someone's wrists, and then suddenly they just shatter into dust, setting them completely free. Next up, verse 15 is all about finding your voice again. You know how guilt can just silence you? This is a request for the ability to speak freely. Imagine a heavy, old padlock clamped shut over a person's lips, and then you see a key turn, the lock clicks open, and it just falls away. Verse 16 is a huge moment of understanding. It's this realization that just going through the motions, performing empty rituals, that's not what's really wanted. The visual is someone walking right past a grand, ornate altar that's piled high with expensive gifts, and instead, they approach a simple, empty space. And here it is. In verse 17, we get the central thesis, the main idea of this entire psalm. The true offering, the real sacrifice, isn't something external. It's something deeply personal, a genuine, humble, and repentant heart. Let's just pause on that phrase for a second, because it is the heart of everything. A broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. Now, this isn't about being destroyed or crushed. It's about being open, being teachable, being humble. It's this radical idea that the most valuable thing you have to offer is your own vulnerability. And finally, in verses 18 and 19, the prayer expands. It zooms out from the personal to the entire community. And the perfect image for this is seeing a single, newly repaired brick being carefully placed into a large gap in a massive city wall, making the whole structure strong and secure once again. Which leaves us with this one final thought. The journey of this entire psalm moves from personal brokenness all the way to communal rebuilding. It suggests that our biggest failures, when we meet them with honesty and humility, can actually become the foundation for something brand new. So the question for us is, what can be built from the pieces of what's been broken?